lot about developing this side and wanting to dominate the ball, and a bit of a different side that we saw them today. What was kind of the thinking behind how you went about it today?
Well, we tried to play positive and aggressive and play on the front foot, and knowing we were playing against a team where we're going to build from the back, play out from the back, and I've watched some games where if you sit off them and try and play too much in a deep block, they will eventually find their way through. And I think we got the benefits of the first 30 minutes were there for us all to see. I think we could have scored more than one goal, and yet we did get pushed back by a decent football team, a team who were positionally good, moved the ball well. But yeah, we're every game's different in this league, isn't it? I was just talking out there about, we lost 5-1 to Stoke City, basically because of the way they played, and we knew today's team was a totally different challenge for us, and hopefully we're ready for it. And the wide players, particularly, at times you end up getting pushed back and playing with the back five. Robertson and Clark had to track their full backs all the way to that back stick, and if you didn't, you were going to be in trouble. But yeah, we found a way. We got the job done, and I don't, I don't think, God, we must have been absolutely terrible last week, getting beat 5-1. What was going on? How would you turn that into 1-0? Different teams, different styles, different ways of playing, and today probably suited us a little bit better than what we faced last week, trying to get through a real mid-block team who don't want to really play with the ball but are waiting for your mistakes. And yeah, I thought they worked really hard. I thought Robertson, whilst he's had better games with the ball, I thought he worked extraordinarily hard. And Jack Clark, I thought, was probably his best performance since I've been here. He didn't score, but his work ethic and his ability to ask questions of Max Aarons was really impressive, I felt. And so yeah, great credit to them all, really. And it just takes, from the team's point of view, it takes away the negative narrative of not winning in 4, not winning in 5, not winning in 6, because we've got some really hard games coming up. As you know, we've got the next 2 are at home, but they're against the team 2nd and 4th in the league. So it's just a great challenge for this team, the inexperienced team that they are. And I'm conscious of not saying they're a young team. I'm conscious of saying they're inexperienced. I don't know how many appearances in the Championship this lot have played. Take Danny Bath out the team, and you've got a team who haven't played many games in the Championship, and this is a learning curve for them. And today they worked really hard and got their rewards.
Bar's first goal, we talked a lot about Geldhart, and you saying that ideally when he came in you wanted to pair him up with somebody. And obviously Bar isn't Ross Stewart as a player, but you could tell that there was almost deliberately there to try and get some support up to Joe and get him.
Yeah, I think Abdullah is, he's a really talented boy. He needs to learn to move the ball and run without it sometimes, because he wants to get it and beat people all the time and dribble, and it can be frustrating sometimes when he dribbles and loses it. But I did say to him before the game, we just had a bit of a laugh in there, that I thought he'd score today. I told him he'd probably stick one in the top corner, but he put it in the bottom corner, so he was happy. We're trying to integrate these young French kids and the young Costa Rican, of course, into our group. The language barrier is becoming less of a problem, and yet it still is there. It's still a difficulty to try and incorporate them into the group, because the other players want to win football matches, and they want them to, the communication to get back in, tackle, win your header, all those little football narratives are difficult when they probably haven't got a clue what you're saying to them. But I think somewhere down the line they'll have all integrated fantastically into our team. They've all got talent and will be stronger for it, and they'll be more experienced the more they play. But yeah, happy today, and not because we won. I'm more interested in their performance, because I'm not sitting here thinking we can threaten the playoffs. What I know is that we're not looking over our shoulder and thinking we're going to get dragged into a relegation scrap. We've got 52 points. I'm not sure anybody's ever been relegated on 52 points. We've got 10 games to go. We have to go and win 5 or 6 of them and really enjoy it and see where it takes us. But what I do know is they're all working hard and fighting for each other and collective. And Yeah, pleased with them today. And yet, listen, I've just asked outside, oh, it's a surprising result. Well, was it because before the last two, which we should have won, 72% possession at Coventry, and more shots, more efforts on goal, more shots on target, and got beat 2-1. Rotherham could have won 3 or 4-1 and got beat 2-1. If we'd have won both of them, we'd have been right up there. And yet, I'm more in. So is it a shock that, and we hadn't lost an away game since October, so I don't think it's a big shock to win at Norwich, because we went to Fulham, who were 6th in the Premier League at the time, and drew 1 each. It's, I think the team are all right. I think they work really hard. I think we've got some individuals who can damage the opposition. We just haven't got a centre forward who's a centre forward who can bring any physicality. Or, as I said to you last week, we can't play over the top of teams or into the centre forward. We haven't got a target. We've got 10s, 9.5s who we have to play off, but we've got wingers who can eliminate, and we're just working hard, really. And if I was going to sort of create, as I've tried to with the local press, a narrative, they're just young lads who are trying to grow and to make Sunderland an established championship team again. And then somewhere down the line we get recruitment right, we should be able to push to see whether we can get this club back towards the Premier League.
I'm adding Pritchard. A, how are they? How long are you expecting to be out for? And B, how satisfying to win without them?
Well, it's not satisfying to win without him. I think Ahmed is such an important footballer. Pritchard's missed a fair bit of the season through injury, and yet he's a really talented boy. He's got a big personality in the group. They're both big losses, but how long? If they don't make Wednesday, I think they should be available for Saturday. But I don't know. That's a guess. I've spoke to Ahmed. He had a scan. There's no injury, there's no tear, there's no damage. The hamstring looks perfect. I think he's just played. He's a lad who's never played like 3 consecutive 90 minutes in his career, and he's just played 32 of them, I think, or something like that. So his body's telling him, whoa, he's cramping up, his hamstrings are tight, and we need to give him a rest, take him off the grass for a few days, let him have a swim in the pool, let him have a massage and a rub, and in a week's time, I think he'll be out there flying again and finish the season strong for us.
Great to have Lyndon back, though.
Yeah, I think. Listen, I love watching Gooch in 09, you know. And if you're a Sunderland fan, I think you should, you know, the emotion and the passion that they bring to a team, and you know, Lyndon a tackle there in the 80-some at the minute in front of the dugout was like, whoa, it was like unbelievable, you know. Just a lad who doesn't pull out of anything, and 09 doing a header when they both were getting there at the same time. It was almost sad for the other kid because he got smashed by 09, but it was just a competitive challenge of 2 players going for the header, and you just know he isn't ever going to pull out of anything. I think they epitomised the fighting spirit of the team, and yet I hope Roberts, Clark, Ahmad, you know, Pritchard, them, even Edouard is showing what a talent he is, you know. It's I hope the team is recognised as a talented team with individuals with individual talent, and yet every team, if they're going to be successful, has to have some grit and some fighting spirit, and they bring that in shed loads, yeah.
And Dan Neil brought that, didn't he, particularly in the second half. I know we've talked about him a fair bit this season, but he's stepped up, hasn't he, especially in lieu of so many experienced leaders.
Yeah. I genuinely think Dan Neil is on a journey that will, hopefully with this club, take him to the Premier League. If it's not this club and we can't get there fast enough, I think the Premier League will phone up about him. And he's an amazing human being and who wants to be a footballer, who listens to everything you tell him, who wants to get better. He sits and watches his clips and what he did well, what he didn't do well. He's just a kid on a journey, really, and it's going to be tough to stop him. And our job as coaching staff is to help him along the way. Just keep making him positive, keep understanding that he has to have both aspects. You know, the best midfield players in my mind, the ones who can do both, have some steel and then look silky as when they've got the ball and pick lovely passes. But then when the ball breaks between him and the other guy, he smashes in the tackle and comes out with the ball. So, and Dan's learning them aspects, and you know, he's still a very young man, but somewhere down the line, he will become a really good footballer. Happy.
Tony, to carry the threat that you did throughout and to defend as well as you did, set against the challenges of those recent injury problems, how satisfying a win is that?
I think it's an important way. For me, it's important for the dressing room. I see the lads in there; they're so happy because football. You're in the industry. That the narrative becomes 4 without the win, becomes 5 without the win, becomes 6 without the win. Or within them 6, you've had 4 defeats. What's happened? There's nothing happened really. This is a really young team that can win football matches. And yet, I said that 2 defeats away from home to Rotherham and Coventry. We were totally dominant in both, without the striker we play in here, by the way. And we score 1 in both games, but I think Rotherham away, they scored 2 from outside the box, in off the post. It happens, it's football, and yet you can dominate games, and you have to accept it. And I think with young players, the narrative becomes, what's happened to them? Why can't they win? It's as if you're creating pressure on young players, and I try and release that and say, listen, what a good team we are. Keep playing, keep doing what you do, keep moving the ball, get it out to Roberts, get it to Diallo, get it to Clark. Individuality, get your team up, organise as we're attacking, and they're all taking it on board. I feel they're all getting better, and and they warrant. Listen, Norwich are a really, really good team. I said to them before, so I've watched their last 3 games. They're very positional. The best teams are positional. Their players have demands put on them: when to run, when to stand, when to give angles. And Norwich are a really good team, and yet they do build from the back, and they give every team a chance to try and nick it off them as they're building. The challenge for all teams like Norwich, in my mind, is do you keep doubling down and try to get better at building and keep doing it, like a Man City or a Chelsea, or even Liverpool don't really build from the back. They get it to Van Dijk and they hit a 60-yard diagonal to Mo Salah, who runs in behind, and then they all press up. But there's no one way to play football, and yet Norwich want to build from the back. It just gives you a chance to press them and to try and nick it off them. And if you nick it off them with 30 yards from goal, you're generally 1 pass away from banging it in their net. And if you look at the data of Norwich this season, I think they've lost the most goals from mistakes from their defenders. And so our plan was to play high press. Let's see if they make a mistake today and we can capitalise on it. And when we do, we can be really solid and make it hard for them and see if they can get through us. But we can break away and score again. It's football, it's what we do as a job, and we try and teach the players as they go along. So these are all 19, 20, 21-year-olds. We're trying to teach them football so that in the end, when they get to 24, 25, they know their job. Nobody needs to tell them, this is how you play. And but can I just say, total respect for Norwich. What a good football team. They deserve to be up there in the top 6, and I think they will finish up there because they've got such good players. For us, we're on a journey to try and get to that level really, and hopefully we will in the next year or 2.
Tony, sorry, I hear what you're saying, that Norwich away is completely different to Stoke at home.
Yeah.
But could you just sum up that defensive performance as a whole? Headers away, shots blocked, tackles in. Was that as good as it gets?
Listen, I would have to say it doesn't surprise me. I think the compactness of the team was what was good today. The wide players. So there's been times this season when we've lost a goal and our wide players are walking back over the halfway line, shaking their heads from when the ball's been lost from the previous attack. As I keep saying to them, and every manager's different, unacceptable. It's unacceptable to be walking over the halfway line, shaking your head from the last attack when the ball ends up in our net. They have to run. I said to Patrick Roberts last night, and he laughed about it this morning, I said, you're going to have to break world records today, son, on distance covered. Because I knew how Norwich, they overload, they bring their wide player inside, they narrow your back 4 off, their full back pushes high, they hit diagonals. And so if our wide attackers didn't run all the way back, we were in trouble. And he did. And him and Clark both did amazing jobs today. They weren't ripping you to bits all the time, like they have in some games. They really damaged the opposition fullbacks because they were working hard back, and I just felt the defensive display had to be good today. But early on in the game, when we were pressing high on the build-up, it gave us opportunities to score a goal, which we did, and we nearly scored another 1 or 2. So I think that's the picture of the game, isn't it? I think, as I said, Norwich are a really impressive football team. Yeah, and let's see if they get there this year. Having been at Ipswich for 9 years, I don't want to sit here and say, I hope Norwich. I think they've got a really good team, and yet there's a lot of really good teams in the league, and they're in a competition, as we all are, to try and finish in the top 6 and give ourselves a chance to get promotion. And Norwich, being a team who came down from the Premier League, will hope and expect to try and bounce back first attempt. All right, thank you. Lovely to talk to you.